There comes a time in every video game retrospective YouTuber's life where they must create a review of Sonic Adventure. It's like the pilgrimage to Mecca, and fortunately for me, this is a game I got some history with. Like, did you know? One of my core memories is playing Big the Cat's Twinkle Park level while eating a banquet chicken pot pie. My relationship with Sonic the Hedgehog is weird, and I think that's okay, right? I mean, it's not weird like those other Sonic fans, but I always keep his games on my radar, even though the last one I've played was Sonic Heroes. Do the Olympics count? Yeah, maybe I'm not a Sonic fan. The only Sonic content I've consumed in the past decade is watching people cyberbully the quirky members of the fan base. But Sonic Adventure was my introduction to the series, and well, it did okay. It certainly didn't pull me in like the rich, creamy gravy and tender white meat chicken loaded inside the warm, flaky, made-from-scratch crust of a banquet chicken pot pie. I got Sonic Adventure with my GameCube in the Christmas of 2005, and all I can tell you is that I didn't have a memory card, so the furthest I ever got for a solid month was this part of Windy Valley that kills you during a cutscene. Oh yeah, we're in the era of every game took me at least 4 years to beat. Hit a wall, overcome it, rinse and repeat. And Sonic Adventure is riddled with these scenarios. Chaos 6, the Egg Viper. It took me a hot minute to find Tails' workshop. Like, I deadass thought it was this cabin. Looking for the beautifully named Monkey Detonation Switch was a nightmare. How is anyone supposed to guess there's a raft here you can ride? I think I found Speed Highway by complete luck. Did someone say Big the Cat? I got stuck so many times in this game, it's a miracle I even beat it. But in all honesty, I have a fondness for that misery. That rewarding feeling of finding the next level is just so powerful. My best memories from Sonic Adventure come from exploration and discovery, like getting Knuckles' fighting gloves at the back cliff of the jungle and figuring out where the keys to Windy Valley and Ice Cap belong. The hub worlds slowly expand with every level you clear, and many of this game's puzzles are searches for their entrances. It's for this reason that Station Square and Mystic Ruin songs are so nostalgic for me. Oh man, till the day I die, I'll be able to quote,
"The train headed for Station Square will be departing soon."
One of my favorite things about Sonic Adventure is that the story is accessible from 6 different perspectives. There's 6 characters to play as, and over the course of the game, their paths will intersect with one another. And even cooler is that many of their interactions are altered depending on whose point of view you're looking through. It's like the story is told in past tense. Everyone's the main character of their own life, and perception is reality. So when we recount our experiences to others, what's created is a warped version of the truth. Like Sonic and Tails travel together for half the game, and whenever they encounter Eggman, there's a noticeable difference in his behavior. Sonic thinks Eggman's the world's biggest bozo, so it's reflected in his wacky, get a load of this guy personality.
If it isn't Sonic!
Meanwhile, Tails finds Eggman intimidating, so most of his dialogue has this calm, sinister tone.
Well, if it isn't Sonic and Tails.
You won't notice anyone else breaking character this much, so we can comfortably label Tails as an unreliable narrator. Storytelling in this manner is very uncommon, but I find it really inspiring. I dabble in writing fiction myself, and it's because of this game that I try to understand what my characters are doing at all times to get a greater scale of the world I'm creating, and keeping track of time also allows me to craft when the best point will be for them to meet. Depending on the occasion, 2, 3, 4 characters appearing in one location can build a ton of suspense, and workshopping what has happened before these climactic encounters can be a great exercise to improve your story, and maybe even take it into a direction you didn't initially plan. And does Sonic Adventure even come close to tangling its characters and as engaged of a way as I've cited? No, because it's a fucking video game from 1998. Knuckles and Amy don't even cross paths. How am I supposed to ship them? Yeah, some of the cast won't meet each other, and those that do barely have any payoff. Sonic will be starting his fight with Chaos on the egg carrier, and all of a sudden Big the Cat is here. Like, who is this fella? Turns out stories are better told when we get the bigger picture. The Knuckles fight could have been hype if we knew Eggman was manipulating him, but instead the encounter is just underwhelming.
Oh no.
All that being said, it's still nice to see this format being used. I like that we can follow one of Eggman's robots as they commit mass fratricide and experience the epic journey of getting abandoned by your boyfriend during a date. You can complain all you want that Big has no reason to exist, but I can guarantee you've wondered at least once what pets do while their owners are at work. So what even is the story of Sonic Adventure? Word on the streets say it's about a hedgehog having a rough transition to 3D, but it's actually about one really thirsty god. Check this out. Eggman wants to build a city So he finds God and feeds him precious metals, which then turns it into a kaiju that causes eternal damnation. I don't think Eggman's ready to run a city. Has he elected a comptroller? Will Robotnik Land even be economically sustainable? You got a plan for this, big guy? The entire plot of Sonic Adventure revolves around chaos and the annihilation it can produce with all 7 Chaos Emeralds. And let me just say, I love chaos and the design around it. Each time he gets an emerald, he transforms, going from beta to a beta with a porn addiction, to a fish, a rat, and finally a reptoid. Oh, this screams inspired by Pokemon, and I am here for it. Fuck that genetically superior bullshit. I just want to watch fictional monsters mutate by leveling up, and if that makes me black-pilled, hand over the 4chan login. Chaos is a goofy villain because he's water. A dude could make himself dummy thick if he wanted, but chooses not to. And when he isn't busy personifying God's judgment, Chaos spends his days off sealed inside the Master Emerald with the 6th hottest female Sonic character, Tikal. If there's one thing I was looking forward to in this playthrough, it was hearing her quotes that get recycled in Sonic Adventure 2's battle mode.
I must do something.
Tikal plays a really weird function in the story because her spirit will randomly teleport characters to the past and show them baby puppies getting trampled and burnt to death. Amy's a bit tied up breaking out of Eggman's airship girl. We don't need to traumatize her any further. And it's the audacity of Sega to show these cutscenes out of sequence in a game that's plot is already scrambled. Like, I hope you're ready to not understand what's going on just as much as the characters, because that's just how they're implemented. Now, I like these parts where you get to explore Mystic Ruins before the weeds took over, and with accessibility to the zone being so limited, I always wanted to return here to run around and look for power-ups, or be swarmed by Ugandan Knuckles. What's possibly the strangest part of these time travel segments are the Chao. Sacred animals protected by chaos, and 3,000 years later, you can throw one at a wall. Chao are not important. However, the Chao Garden is one of, if not the greatest side mode in any video game. And it's just a virtual pet. You can feed your Chao fruit, pet them, fuse their DNA with a seal, and what ties it all together is the ability to enter them in races. It's so easy to get hooked on this that you can find yourself spending more time raising Chao than playing the actual game. That being said, Sonic Adventure 2 improved so much about this mode that the Adventure 1 version is borderline unplayable with how inferior it is. There's more to do, it's more streamlined, I promise. Whenever the day comes when I talk about that game, like half the video will be spent gushing over the Chao Garden. Wow guys, he's finally going to talk about the gameplay. So with Sonic Adventure having 6 different characters, there's also 6 different ways to play, and they're all loosely related to their story. Sonic's got the vanilla Stop Eggman story, and his levels are all what you'd expect playing a Sonic game. Fast-paced running where losing any momentum is frustrating. I have a love-hate relationship with Sonic's levels because blasting through long strings of corridors and loop-de-loops without messing up is adrenaline-pumping excitement. But if you've never been able to pull off these sections without interruptions, it'll completely throw off your vibe check of a level. Emerald Coast and Windy Valley were always my favorites, since there aren't many hiccups, making the gameplay feel smooth and effortless. But every other level stilts your movement with icicle hopping, monkey bars, or a shitty Mario Galaxy. I can thank Cianopolis for making me hate pinball. You have to collect 400 rings playing it, which always takes 20 or so minutes to accomplish. And a frustrating discovery is that losing badly dumps you into the sewers where rings can be gathered significantly quicker. But now you have to tippy-toe at a sluggish pace so you don't get hit. It's still much quicker this way, but who am I kidding? That hot shower adds up. Ice Cap and Twinkle Park have these fun sections with snowboarding and race cars. Speed Highway uses the entire game's budget in the skyscraper scene. Lost World makes me sad. Like, this is the level I'm most disappointed in, and it's thematically the most important to the story. Imagine running through a temple filled with booby traps and puzzles. Now imagine it being the worst part of the game. This level throws so many ideas in here, and not one of them sticks. Riding a snake underwater to flip switches that open a door, navigating a dark room full of lights and mirrors you can align to reveal a path, walking on fucking walls. God, I wish this level was better. At least it's got the theme song to my Survivor game reviews in it, and wrapping up the journey is one of the dumbest boss fights I've ever dealt with. Egg Viper. It's really not that bad, but after losing all his health, Eggman kamikazes onto the arena, and he gets me every single time. Would you believe it took me 2 years to beat this?
Hey, I'll play with you some other time.
Following Sonic is Tails, who repeats a lot of Sonic's story, but with the added twist of non-canon character development. Tails wants to be independent, which means gaining a main character complex, and the way this is reflected in his gameplay is racing Sonic to the Chaos Emeralds, becoming the fastest thing alive. I like Tails because he breaks these levels wide open with his ability to fly, so you can just skip everything. That may sound like a negative, but put a controller in your hand and you'll see why he's so fun. Getting a fast-paced moon jump and treating levels like a jungle gym, I would buy a game if it was just this. Knuckles' story follows the echidna collecting pieces of a broken Master Emerald and never riding the subway, so his gameplay is reworked into a scavenger hunt. Every level has 3 hidden shards, and the only way to find them is to play hot or cold. And I gotta say, this is right up my alley. If Easter egg searches were socially acceptable as an adult, I'd be in that shit. So to have an alternative I can play locked away from society is perfect. This mode just preys on the masculine urge to use a metal detector. So many games want you to collect things for no reason, and most of the time, I can't be bothered to care even a little bit. But with a mode that's built specifically around finding 3 items using a radar and having the ability to fly and climb walls, suddenly I'm interested. Once again, this is a campaign I would buy if that's all there was. And I say that knowing this is an expected feature in every single video game that will ever come out for the rest of eternity. But whatever they did here, they nailed it. Amy is certainly a character that exists. In her story, she protects a bird with a Chaos Emerald from one of Eggman's robots, which turns her levels into a horror platformer hybrid where the goal is to reach the end of a course, but with the robot chasing her and with many more obstacles in the way, which adds enough stress to be scary if you're a kid. Sadly though, Zero is such a non-factor to the game. Bro can't catch up, and when he is close, his attacks are easy to avoid. Not to mention how easily you can pick your rings back up if he does land an attack. Fortunately, Amy only has 3 levels, so I can keep my complaints to a minimum. But then we got Big, the guy who sleeps holding a fishing rod, cause it ain't a good morning unless he's out fishing. And I don't think you need me to tell you, Big the Cat is universally hated because his levels are a fishing minigame that's completion is required to fight the final boss. But I kinda like it. Now let me start by saying that I don't fish. I rarely ever did it illegally without a license as a kid, but in college, I took a fishing in Minnesota course, don't ask, where my goal for the entire semester was to catch our state fish, the walleye. And 30 hours later, I never want to go fishing again. Big has a steep learning curve because his controls are hard to understand. Like, it took me 3 years to learn that down on the joystick initiates the bite. But the truth is, this is actually the easiest mode in the game. Just look at the instruction menu and you're golden. Actually, if you want to have some real fun, watch a speedrun of Big and play a story right after. That shit makes you feel powerful, but not as powerful as Throat Goat Froggy, who can cram 2 Chaos Emeralds in his mouth at the same time. Big's inclusion in the story is an enigma. Like, the fact he winds up on the egg carrier is incredible, and I will die on the hill that fishing Froggy out of Chaos is top tier comedy. Last of the crew is Gamma, who's often praised for having the best story, but also maybe the weirdest. So I've never quite accepted that Eggman's robots are powered by wild animals because that doesn't make sense. Are they controlling it? Are they the battery? Why is this happening? And since I've never been able to suspend my disbelief on the matter, Gamma's story falls apart. Gamma is an animal and a machine, and its story is about liberating Eggman's entire army with a focus on the Bemis Toilet Seat Brigade. Yeah, 2 days into sentience, Gamma's like, I gotta get out of here! And so every level is spent searching for and destroying these robots. And for some reason, the levels have a time limit, but the more animals you free, the more time you get. And with checkpoints and holding down the B button, you can ignore it entirely. It's a passable mode with a fun final boss, and it concludes with the most confusing ending ever if you've never played a Sonic game. But as an isolated story whose ashes have never been desecrated, I see the fanfare. So with all 6 stories completed, one more opens up. What happens if Chaos gets all 7 Chaos Emeralds? I think this will affect the local trout population. So for some reason, the emeralds bear the abstract concept of positive and negative energy, which means the writers gave up. And now a goofy-ass Kyogre wannabe Perfect Chaos is running rampant, increasing the sea level megapints by the second. So Sonic supersizes himself and saves the day. I mean, technically Eggman won, right? But that's Sonic Adventure. I came into this review expecting the game to be mid because that's how I've always felt about it. But now, I realize how well it actually holds up. This game really pulls out the exploration and freedom I valued as a kid, and with gameplay that becomes easier the more skilled you are, the levels to me now are the best they've ever felt. I was afraid half the cast would hold this game back, but after a replay, I don't think there's a bad character in the bunch. Least best, certainly. But I'm not dreading the hour it takes to beat Big or Amy stories, and it could be that my expectations were lowered even further from the Sonic hate bandwagon that's been making a global tour since my last playthrough. I've noticed how much they contradict themselves actually, praising how fun the levels are to play 20 times, then complaining they had to spend 6 minutes fighting a boss 3 times. Did you know this game has a level select? Or they complain about watching the same cutscene 4 times? Actually, they just complain about the cutscenes, period. Are there valid criticisms to be made? Of course, because if there's one thing to be said about Sonic Adventure, it's like a banquet chicken pot pie. Frozen, unprepared, not appealing at first, but add some heat and time and the assortment of ingredients packed into the tray will taste much better. It's the type of food you can eat once every 5 years because it's not that good, but it's serviceable. And if there comes a day when you're looking for a quick, cheap meal, the banquet chicken pot pie will always be available when you need it. Thanks for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave a like to help the channel grow, and subscribe to get updates on my uploads as soon as they happen. Until then, I will see you all next time.